Here we go. And it says we are live.
Oh, jolly good. Off you go.
Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Hello, folks. Ruth will tell you about our wonderful guest today.
Yeah, Guido. Guido. It's not Italian, it's German. Guido Karp is a renowned German photographer, and since 1980, he's created an impressive collection of portraits of international stars such as Tina Turner, AC/DC, Michael Jackson, the Rolling Stones, and many, many more that we will be talking about today. He's known for his creative style and ability to capture his subjects' personalities. He's also the founder and inventor and artist behind something that fascinated me when I saw it. It's called Princess for One Day. And he's off to Germany to go on tour with a crew of 23 people, hairdressers, makeup artists. And he can photograph and make goddesses and princesses out of ladies literally in a matter of minutes. So we'll talk to him.
I defy him to do anything with this.
Yeah, right. Probably just get a brown paper bag over that.
Yeah.
Draw a smiley face on it.
That's a challenge.
So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is Guido Karp. Hi, Guido.
Hey,
hello, Guido.
How you doing?
Thanks for joining us. We're delighted to have you.
Yeah,
so,
thank you very much for inviting me.
We have a couple of good friends who are big-time photographers. They do all the Super Bowls and a lot of the award shows and
videographers. Actually,
videographers.
NFL.
Yes. So I've written to them this morning. They're called Dina and Jeff Sheldon. So they'll be tuning in.
Yep, they'll be tuning in.
No, they wouldn't want to miss this and
absolutely
hearing all your adventures.
Yeah, so, we had a little conversation beforehand, and somebody got me mixed up with Linda McCartney, which is absolutely a compliment in my book. But she always used to say to me, as from her photographer's mind and her positive thinking mind, just once a day, go outside and just look up. It doesn't matter if it's raining, if the sky is blue or gray or whatever. Just get out of this zone that we all live in. Just look up, and you'll find positivity, another thought. Your cares will go away. How do you prep for, let's say, a big in-studio session? What's your process?
I really don't have one. I mean, it's really photography comes natural to me, and that's what makes it so easy for me on the Princess for One Day dates. It is really I learned to read people. Yeah, when I was a kid, I had a big photographer who couldn't have any kids and took me as his son. And he took me on Saturdays, he took me to a cafe, and we would write down what people would order to eat and to drink before they ordered. So the game was who was right. Whoever was right got a green dot. And the one who had the most green dots was invited by the other by breakfast. So there's this big shot photographer earning shitloads of money, and me going to school living off 20 a month. Yeah, that was my
great idea.
So I had to learn. It was really funny because you would see how you read a Robbie Williams compared to an Angus Young, who see themselves totally different. Yeah. So I look at a person and I see the person. I don't have much of a program where I say this is how I prepare, and I look at the person, put the person into light, and then things just go from there. I mean, it's
artistic intuition by the sound of it.
Called trusting your guts, isn't it?
Yeah, trust your guts.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it really, and if it works, there are other photographers who prepare a shoot 3 days in advance and get 27 lights set up. And I always see eyes. I see if the eyes are good, if the light on the eyes are good, if the eyes are vibrant, everything else is a piece of cake. And so it's really like my last AC/DC shoot. They postponed the session umpteen times. And it was supposed to be in LA, and then they moved it to London. Said 1 week before, saying we have to do it in London, and he did it in a daylight studio. So and then they told me, okay, on Friday we filmed the video. Friday night it's going to be a live video, rock and roll train, I think it was, and we filmed the video live. And your shoot is at 9:30 in the morning.
Oh
God!
AC/DC 9:30 in the morning, and we got to wrap by noon. because the drummer's mother is seriously sick, and he has to catch a flight out back to New Zealand. So I thought this is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a Guns N' Roses situation where they just don't show up. And then the president of the record company called me and said, "Well," I said, "don't drive me crazy. What do you want? Yeah, we need at least one decent photo with all of them on it."
Right.
I mean, you can scare a photographer with this. Yeah, like, I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, I said, what's the problem? So everyone was there by 9:30. It was amazing. It was so easy, and we used daylight, and it was such an easy thing. It was just there's a video on YouTube somewhere of me with me in the session. You would just see we walk through it. And while I was shooting at my team, because I was so scared, at my team, I just threw them the memory cards, and everyone was downloading while I was still shooting. So when the shoot was over, we already had the material to show to the band. Everything was so easy. But that's it. It is really, I see images, and I think in images. I dream in images. I dream in square images.
Wow. That's interesting. I lived in Germany for a short while when I was signed to BMG as a musical artist, and learned Bavarian first and then German second.
Okay.
Which anybody from Germany watching will understand the difference. But sometimes now, if I dream in, I usually dream in English, but if I dream in German, it's always in black and white. It's film noir. I don't know why. That's strange.
Okay. I don't have that.
You don't have, it's always in color for you?
Yeah.
Very interesting. How old were you when you're going to breakfast with this big photographer? How old were you when you got your first real camera?
12.
Oh,
gosh, that's young.
Great.
And what was the fascination? You just knew that was for you?
It's a funny story, because my cousin, actually, Dietmar, hello Dietmar if you watch, Dietmar went to America with the family, to Arizona, to my mother's sister.
I see.
And so he bought this camera. Now I'm going to America, maybe if I ever go again inside the bus. At that time, I mean, we're talking about 50 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So he went to America, and he was fancy about shooting, and he was sort of my best friend at that time. And so he was shooting, so I had to get a camera too. And so I would have loved to be a pop star, but I fail any musical talent, and I was even worse in sports. So that was my thing with the girls, I mean, I like to shoot people right from the beginning, and I did. I mean, I had my first image printed in a German magazine and newspaper when I was 13, and I had my first records.
And you got paid for that?
What?
You got money for that? They
I
paid
got
you?
money for that. Oh, yes. I got 15.
Wow.
15. And
That's
I spent 20 on buying me copies of the newspaper.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's funny. You earned 15 and spent 20. Yeah.
Of course.
We didn't have scanners or photocopies or anything.
No.
That was funny. Brendan in Ireland is asking, are you working on a book, or is there a book out that he can buy any of your photographs?
I did have a book, and it sold out already, unfortunately. But I think for my 65th birthday, which is in 4 years, I will have like the master book. I'm really dreaming of something.
Fantastic.
Something like, we've scanned already my entire analog catalog. Right now, there's no book. I'm sorry.
That's quite well.
There's some left on eBay. I did a book with a cell phone once. But there was more. It was the first one actually out with the book in 2007. Someone gave me a Sony Ericsson phone. That was before the iPhone even existed, and I shot nudes with an iPhone. It's a fantastic book. There's still some out there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, as collectors, I guess if they change hands, then they double the price. It's always a shame to me that the originator, the artist, i.e. you don't get a piece of that. But with the blockchain technology coming, that can be fixed, right?
Yeah, sure.
You'll be able to change that.
So how did you first come to make contact with superstars, all the stars that you photographed?
Okay, I started in the Holy Grail of. I was lucky. I started in the Holy Grail of rock and roll, the Jan Hallebat Preisig. and I was photographing acts which were showing there, and they had two lights, one red there, one red there. Through the first half of the show, this was one on. Second half of the show, this one on encore, both lights on. I was a music enthusiast, and I was shooting concerts. From my very early beginning. Originally for the school newspaper. So
School newspaper.
Great.
yeah, and it was amazing. I mean, I was shooting acts which were not so well known then, but came well known later. So Nina was one of the acts I shot for the school newspapers, or Roger Whittaker, or Vicky Leandro, or Howard Carpendale. I mean, it's really, you didn't start with the Rolling Stones, so
No.
it just kept, and there's a lot of luck. I mean, my best friend is my very best friend since school days is the singer of a German band called Modern Talking.
Oh, yeah.
They sold 50 million albums, so they did quite well. And so that obviously helped opening up doors. Then I went to Australia in 1986 and for an internship. And that was the same time when the Australian music scene exploded, like Jimmy Barnes and John Farnham, Jason and Kylie, and all those. And I was the one with the European media contact, so I did very well there. I must say one of my killer stories though was Cyndi Lauper started her tour in Australia. What was it? It was not Time After Time, True Colors tour. And that was early in her career. And we were all, as all the others, we were allowed to shoot 3 songs, 3 songs from the pit. And since it was like the first big thing for her, the media was invited to an after show party. So we had to put the cameras to the side, and we could have a free beer. Who would say no to a free beer? So we went, and there she was, this tiny little girl. She looked worn out after a show, of course, because she had a brilliant show. So, and then, like, the photographer's guy, photo call. I didn't even know what the photo call was.
Yeah.
The photo call is you put the photographers in a circle, and then the artist stands there, looks 1, 2, 3, 4. I looked through my camera, and she looked crap. I must say, she looked how someone after a show looks. I mean, before she goes, I mean, she was very particular about her hair and makeup. So I looked, and I didn't take a picture. And she looked at me and said, "Your flash didn't go off." I said, "Well, I didn't take a picture." And next. Okay. So like a couple of minutes later, she came to me and said, "What are you? Well, tell me why." And I said, "Well, compared to how you looked on stage, there's room for improvement now. I worked for all these European magazines, of course, making myself bigger. I was in my early 20s, making myself bigger than I really was, as we all do. Because I worked for all these magazines, and if I had taken these photographs, I could imagine that Bravo would put this as a cover since they don't have anything else, and you would hate me for the rest of your life."
It's like Cyndi Lauper looks ill. What's wrong with Cyndi Lauper, right?
No, it is not ill. I mean, it's really, she looked.
No, but the magazine would have made some kind of.
Exactly. It could have been a nasty story, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
And she said, "Oh, wow, okay, I like this. You could have made money with it." I said, "Yes, but I'm in my early 20s, starting my career, and I don't want you to hate me for the rest of your long life." She said, "Okay, cool. So now what?" I said, "Well, I could come and photograph you when you're in proper makeup." I said, "Well, we will be in 2 days. We will be in Melbourne."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Okay. Yeah." I said, "So what do you want?" I said, "I need 5 minutes when you are in full makeup before you go on stage, and that's it." Yeah. And she said, "Okay, if you come to Melbourne, I give you the 5 minutes."
Wow.
So I went. I drank my beer, went home, got everything prepared. We drove to Melbourne, Sydney to Melbourne, 1,000
That's
kilometers.
a long drive. I've done that drive. It's a long ass.
So what I also did, I processed the material obviously from the night, and there were 6 photographs from the 3 songs I really liked. Yeah, 6. So I printed the 6 on nice prints, and I brought it to her and gave them to her, and she said, "Oh, these are nice. What about the others?" So no one will ever see the others. These are the 6. And she said, "Why?" I said, "Well, if you give the magazine these 6, they will print these 6, and we're good. If I give them 30, they may take, out of whatever reason, someone with less taste than you and me will take a photograph you don't like so much, so let's stick with the 6. And she said, "Oh, that's awesome. I like that attitude." And yeah, so
Right.
she said, "Okay." So we did the photograph. I did a polar. I say I hate the polar. I'd rather not show you the polar because polars look always crap.
Yeah.
But I promise it will be good. And she said, how do I don't know you. How do I know I can trust you? I said, well, I showed you my taste already on the 6 images. And so it's
I drove all goddamn night to get to Melbourne, 2 days.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So and now what? I said, well, now I'm going back to Sydney. So you don't want to shoot the show. I said, how much do you give me? And she said, well, everyone gets the first 3 songs. I said, well, I have the first 3 songs. It will not add anything new.
Right.
Yeah? And she said, well, I'm good for 8 songs. And then I'm really wearing off. Yeah.
Yeah. You get
I said,
sweaty
why don't you give me the 8 songs then? And she said, well, little finger, full hand. I said, no, but you asked me. I'm happy with what I have, but if you gave me those 8 songs, I promise you I will only select images from those which are better than the 6 ones we have here. Because then if they were not better, why use them? Yeah?
Right.
And she said, cool, we have a deal. Yeah. If I don't like them, I will find you. Huh? I said, yeah, you can kick my butt and I won't even sue you. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So I shot the 8 songs, drove back to Sydney, and then that's the crazy part, flew back the next day to Germany. That was the plan anyway. So we flew back from Sydney via Melbourne. There was no direct flight from Sydney. But I had to go back. So I flew back, and I was the first in Europe with photographs. You remember, no internet, no scanning. So I was the first in Europe with those images. And I sold them to 23 different magazines.
Good for you.
Yeah, and the cover was really great. So I sold them to 20. I really made a buck on this one. I mean, I think I made 20,000.
You earned it. B, you obviously would then develop a reputation, not just with Cyndi Lauper and her people, but
for being
with
trustworthy,
the label and in the industry. And that goes a long way.
Then I did something which was very unusual at that times. I made color photocopies of these 23 stories, and I sent it to Cindy's manager, and I sent it to Gaynor Crawford, who was the publicist in Australia. The next part of the story is something I was not there. I cannot swear it is true, but it sounds good. So I sent this to Gaynor, and on that day they were deciding with John Reid, who was to be the photographer on the Elton John and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra tour.
Wow.
And I was told that Gaynor said, well, I have this photographer in Europe, and look what we did. And she showed my Cyndi Lauper. So we gave him 5 minutes, and he brought all this. Yeah.
Wow.
So as if it was part of her business to arrange all this. So I got the job to be on the Elton John and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra tour. And one of the images was on the cover way later of the Princess Diana Candle in the Windsor. So the world's best-selling ever record. Yeah. And I have the cover of it. So things turn out. One thing leads to the other.
Yeah,
I will never forget my dad saying, when you fly to Australia, check out everything real good. Who knows if you ever get back to Australia. 86 and 87, I was in Australia 12 times.
Wow. God. Yeah, we lived there for a while. It's a wide open market. It's
absolutely, yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, it's like America with not so much distraction. Like my husband Martin calls it a hot Canada. They're like warm Canadians. Well, that is absolutely. I did the same when we first started McCartney Multimedia. We came by, paid for them, but we came by a bunch of domain names: Ventura Highway, FleetwoodMac.com, McFleetwood.com. There was a cyber squatter sitting on all these names that wanted millions, and I knew how to get them back for the correct legal price.
Okay.
And we invested in that. We bought a bunch of these domain names, and Martin and I went around. We found out all the managers, because you didn't have IMDb. You couldn't just look up who somebody's lawyer was, right? And so we met a friend of a friend who knew a guy who knew a girl, and we went around Hollywood and gave away all the .coms on just the handshake proviso that these people, if they ever develop a website, they would come back and we would build it. And that's how we built the business. We retrieved the domain names from the squatter, gave them to the rightful owner with no contract, just, hey,
I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I mean, there's gazillions of stories to tell. Yeah, I bought from Ivor Sharp. You know, Ivor Sharp was the photographer of the John and Yoko wedding.
Oh, in Amsterdam.
Yes, and he was in IRS trouble, so he had to sell the original negatives with the copyright, and I bought them. Yeah? And I was sitting on them, not doing anything with it, and then Yoko got involved and said, "You want to use this for the Think Different campaign?" And she said, "Why did you buy them, and what do you want with them?" I mean, we could talk an hour about this story alone, and it shows off loyalty is worth something. Yeah, I mean, it's really. We got in the conversation, and I said I've been a huge Beatles fan, and I admired also John for his artistic capacities outside music. Yeah,
integrity.
And then she told me, and then we got into her friend is Sting, and I said Sting is sometimes I was touring with Sting for many years. I was nominated as music photographer of the year with the photograph of Sting, and I said he doesn't get the recognition he would want from in the jazz scene, which depresses him. And said there's a painting of John Lennon crossing the street with another musician who says, "I'm getting into jazz, man." Yeah? And John responds, "I've been trying to avoid it all my life." And I said, I would, I need my right hand, but that's something I would give my right hand for. Because I like the humor, I like the way.
Yeah.
So and that was the conversation we had was on December 20th, at least 20 years ago. And on Christmas Day, Federal Express delivered a box, and there was the framed original in it.
From
Merry
Yoko?
Christmas, Yoko.
Wow, God bless.
But she wanted to buy these Ivor Sharp negatives, and she said, and obviously everyone on a situation like this wants to make an extra buck, and I sold her the negatives for the price I paid for.
So you didn't mark them up because she gave you the painting?
No, I mean it's her. I mean it's really, yeah. Even if Ivor would have come back to me, I would have said, "Here they are." Yeah. I mean it's always nice when you can afford to be generous. Yeah, but it's sometimes it's not so easy that you cannot be generous when you're in difficult situations. But that's I learned there's 10 reasons why you get successful in your job, and the quality is only one of them. People must like you. People must find it easy to work with you. People must trust you. Yeah, it's a big issue.
Yeah, Martin and I had a
You
meeting.
know,
The world runs on trust. I trust that the pilot of my Southwest or United plane has got the right credentialing and that he doesn't have a bottle of cognac between his legs, right? I trust when I go to the lab and they take my blood, they're not going to mix it up with somebody else's. The world has to run on trust. It just does.
And actually, the trust situation in every aspect was like the platform for the stamp story. I mean, it's like, okay, I've been touring with the BeeGees 20 years ago. and they came to in Germany to the Loreley, and the kids were playing, and I took photograph of the kids. So I brought the images of the kids to the band, and first I got yelled at. Yeah, how could you dare to photograph our children without our permission? I said, well, I said I didn't want to ruin the situation by running away, asking, possibly getting your lawyer. Yeah, approving. These are yours. I will not. They are not for me. I would never give them to anyone. This is my present, and they apologized for being having thoughts.
But you know, I get it.
I get it too. But here's the images. So it was like a personal door opener to the band, and Edwina sent me Christmas cards every year, and she paints, you know, she's a big So so we stayed in loose touch. Whenever they needed something, everything was easy. So now the Royal Mail decided to do this commemorative stamp thing,
right?
And they shopped the obvious photographers, and I was never involved in stamps, so I had no idea. And the Queen was very particular by picking only photographers from the Commonwealth, if not British, at least Commonwealth photographers.
Australia, Canada, South Africa.
So now the person in charge on the BeeGees side is Maurice's son Alan, who was on the photographs I had taken, and said, my dad always liked the photographs of Guido Karp. Why don't we use his? So that's where like the trust support comes in from the BeeGees side. So I had strong supporters in the BeeGees to take my photographs. And as far as I know, it never happened before that of an entire series, one photographer provided all images. So that's one first. And as far as I know, before me, they always used Commonwealth photographers.
Which makes sense.
So now, obviously, King Charles and I are not drinking buddies. We don't talk. But I have worked for Prince Charles many years. What happened is I was touring with Eric Clapton and Krista Berg and Phil Collins and Tina, and there were so many Princess Trust shows in the Royal Albert Hall.
Sure.
And as I was the official photographer anyway, I was always asked, rather than bringing in a photographer, would you mind donating some of yours to this worthy cause? And I said, of course I do. Yeah, why not? I mean, why not? So I did. So I never thought of it. Okay. So now the photographs in selection were presented. You know, everything which has the name Royal must really be approved by.
Yes.
It's really what I didn't know. I would think, why does the King of England have to bother about a stamp? But that's how it is there. So
because it goes in his red box.
I know for sure, and I have in writing, because I didn't believe it, that King Charles has actually approved the images. I mean, I wasn't with them. They didn't say, "Hey, come on, let's have a drink." And but what I bet he'd love to, though. I bet he'd love to. Yeah. It was an issue. They say, "Well, but he's not from the Commonwealth." But then he must have responded. But why do I know his names? Why? So it sounds so familiar, the name. And they say, well, he's been photographing the Prince Trust images for so many years. And then he said, well, wouldn't it be grossly unfair now to hold his Germanship against him while we took advantage of his work for all the years? Why not take his photographs and use them as stamps? So that's what I heard. Again, it would be nice if it would be true. If it's not, at least it's a good story.
Well, you know, I do know from back channels, and we're doing a project at the moment that I can't talk about in that arena.
Yeah.
But I do know everybody finds the king to be an extremely democratic, fair, karmic pay it forward person. So it would not surprise me at all to know that, well, this Guido Karp has given us all these Princess Trust photographs for 25 years. Who are we to say, yeah, no thanks, we need a different photograph of Maurice Gibb for the Isle of Man stamp? It seems like it would make sense to him. I mean, obviously I can't speak for any other human but me, but that does sort of
rings true.
It rings true in the world that we know of. You mentioned a name in the last segment.
Oh, Eric Clapton. Yeah, how am I doing for name dropping? So how did you hook up with Eric Clapton?
Okay. It was a difficult story because I was booked to photograph him on the Pilgrim tour. So I flew to New York, and I came to the production office, and everyone looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, you booked me as a photographer." And I said, "Well, Eric believes that every photo taken is stealing part of his soul." I said, "Oh, wow. Why do you put a photographer?" I said, "Well, we need the photographs." Yeah. So I said, okay. Said, but we had a problem. Someone flashed during rehearsals yesterday, and it took us an hour to calm him down. And that he would be ready to go on. So I can't risk, now it's the opening night at the Madison Square Garden. Why don't you come back tomorrow? So I came back tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. It was 8 days, and I didn't take a single picture. So they sent me home. Sent me home. And then they called me and said, "Can you be," like 3 weeks later, "can you be in Denver tomorrow?" I said, "Well, tomorrow is the 60th birthday of my mom. I cannot be in Denver tomorrow." "What about the day after tomorrow?" "Yeah, we're in Arizona." I said, "Arizona is just fine." So I flew to Arizona just to learn that someone from the audience flashed in Denver.
Oh, geez.
I said, "Well, as long as you pay me, we can play this game forever." Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And they said, no, we need these photographs. Why don't we hide you in the audience? Just make sure that Eric doesn't see you. So I was hiding in the audience and jumping down the audience, different position every day. And it turned out that the guy who told all these stories was on bad drugs. Eric does not believe that every photo of him taken is stealing a part of his soul.
Oh, good.
Anything of this.
Oh my God.
Wow. And the flash wasn't driving him crazy?
I don't even know if someone flashed.
Wow. So what you wonder, don't you, in life why somebody wants to make themselves so self-important and ultimately waste Eric's money. Look, imagine the amazing photographs you could have taken.
No, I did that from the audience. I did shoot for.
No, but I mean, in the first 8 days at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's those people who want to be someone. Yeah. On the Paul McCartney tour I was with, every time I went backstage and Paul walked the aisle, I had to turn around and face the wall so he could pass me. I said, why? I mean, I'm looking at him for 2 hours in the show into his nostrils with my 300 mil. Why? Yeah. And I was touring with Genesis and Mike, and met Mike Rutherford backstage, and he said, why are you so hesitant? I said, well, I'm not supposed to be here. And he said, well, fuck it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Come in, have a drink.
Nice.
Yeah, it showed to me, it is like the way I worked then for the last 30 years. I had either strong relations with my artist or no relations at all.
Yeah,
so I said, those people who said who took me as taking part of my job. Everyone on this tour is doing his job. Huh?
It's a family, right? A crew becomes a family.
I was touring with Phil Collins.
Yeah.
And on the second show already in the tour, he asked me if I want to come on stage and take That was still the firework and lighter time.
Yeah.
Take a photo from behind with Another Day in Paradise, because we were in Dortmund Westfalenhalle, and it was well known for being very lit with this. So okay. So I said, yes, sure. Oh, I felt very honored. I didn't, so I went and I made sure no one sees me. Yeah. The song starts and he turns and looks around and looks at me in a way that scared the shit out of me. I said,
Okay.
what have I done to be looked at like this? So I packed my camera bag and I drove home. I said, no. This is something went dead wrong here. I don't know what, but tomorrow will be another day. But the way he looked, it was really, he was really, really upset. So I got out of the way. And next day we were in Stuttgart, and I tried everything. I used every way to stay out of his way, which never works. We all know this. So I bumped into him, and he smiled and hugged me and said, how did things go? How did the shots come out from last night?
Oh, shit.
I said, well, I went home. Why did you look at me this way? What happened is Daryl Stürmer, the guitar player, is playing a special guitar for Another Day in Paradise. And the guitar counts in the song, da-da-dum-dum, and then the song starts. The guitar roadie has not properly plugged in the guitar, so the guitar didn't start, so the song didn't go off the way it was supposed to go off, and the roadie was standing next to me. The look was not for me, it was to the roadie. So that's in the movie, that's where we would have the violence playing now. Yeah. So he said, but Phil said, you know what? You did it just right. If the look would have been for you, get out of sight, get lost. As you said, tomorrow will be another day. It is about 15,000 people in the audience. It's not about you and me. They come to see me. And if you had done something so bad that I would have looked at you this way, you better get out of my eyes.
Right. Well, because he would have been distracted if the guitar didn't go off.
No, he would have also. We don't want to upset the artist while he's on stage.
Well, that's their practice. That's their. It's like surgery for some of them, right? They're in the zone. They're in the moment.
There's a tunnel. It's. Doc, we will. You run this. I just see this here on the screen. The Princess for One Day. It's like when I'm shooting Princess for One Day, I'm really in a tunnel. And there's so many people say, "Oh, when you come to my city, let's have a coffee." So no, I am in my tunnel, and I need to take these photographs. I have all these. Oh, you can't take my photograph. I always look shit on photographs. I take them by the hand and say, "Listen, honey, now you're here with me. How often have you been here with me?" And they said, "Never." I said, "Why don't you blame me for the crap others did to you? Now you're here, and I promise everything will be good." Just do as I tell you, and it's going to be really quick, and it's going to be a lovely photograph. And then we do. And that's, I've been photographing more than 100,000 girls over the last 20 years on the Princess Tour. And it was, of course, we had some failures. My failure rate is below, I have a failure rate of 1 per 1,000.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. So for the viewers who are just catching up, we're talking about Princess for One Day, which is a very ambitious art project and tour that Guido does. He's off to Germany in the middle of this month, in December 24, and it's basically turning women kind of my age or a little bit younger, maybe 45 and up. I would say 40 and up.
We have everything from 14 till 90.
14 till 90, but a lot of the amazing photographs I've seen that you've sent me, Guido travels with an incredible hair and makeup team and trucks and drivers and whatever, and they roll into town. It's all pre-booked, of course, and they're running TV commercials in Germany right now. They're almost booked out, but I said the other day on our pre-interview, how long is each sitting? You cannot possibly do 120 portraits of 120 people in one day. He said, I just need a split second. That magic, the eyes, the light in the eyes, that magic, that moment, I need a split second. So that in and of itself, people always say, oh, well, art takes time. It takes 12 years.
the longer you take, the more nervous it makes them. I
Yeah.
need to take over. I need to
Right.
take over for a millisecond and have my photograph, and we're done. It comes natural to me. That's how we started the whole conversation. When I have everything is, they come beautiful hair, beautiful makeup. I will not allow anyone in the studio if he or she will not say, "Oh, I feel great after what the team did," because what's the point? Why shall I shoot if someone? So I would send them back. I said, "It happens." Yeah. Oh, I wish my hair would be different. Say, go back, go to someone else. We'll fix it. And when you think you look great, then you come to me, and then I'm going to shoot you. And that works pretty well. I mean, it's really, I've been doing this now for more than 20 years, and I've photographed more than 100,000 ladies alone. And now we have more and more guys coming. It's fun, yeah, because a lot of photographers too who say, "Oh, I always wanted to see what you do and what for a little money."
Yeah, but it can't be replicated, Guido, because it's about you, and it's about that single moment in the universe where you, and I used to work for Norman Seeff as a production assistant, right? Okay. And it's about that single connective moment. It's almost like the Leonardo, the Leonardo da Vinci moment, right? There's a spark between you and the subject, and the fact that you can do this with 120 subjects in a day, in a 12-hour day, the common denominator is you. So photographers can come and see how you do it all they want, but they're never going to be able to replicate what you do.
Okay, I would not take it that far, but I mean, it is not as easy as it immediately looks, obviously, and you need to be trained. I mean, it's what people underestimate is really the 120. It is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is easy, but to be able to perform on the concentration level 120 times, and that's sadly why I think the night next to is going to be my last, because I'm not getting any younger. Yeah, I have two strokes in my back. Survived both well, even though the second one was really nasty. The doctor said, I don't think he's ever going to walk again. And that was and so here in LA, in Glendale, I was very well taken care of, I must say, and things went well. But
God bless. Well, it's a shame in a way that you can't teach that magic to somebody, but it is about a personality. When I was an artist, I had a ton of photographers take pictures, and I always had, different hair and makeup, well, the same hair and makeup or whatever. But there is definitely a relationship between a photographer and a subject, and sometimes
it has to be. If there's no relationship, it really is.
Let's say not relationship.
If it's only, and on Princess for One Day, I think it helps a lot that those people come with the credibility they already implanted in their heads before. This guy maybe knows what he's doing.
Trust again. It's the one who runs on
trust. There we're the trust situation again. Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely amazing. So we talked about the postage stamp and whatever. Everyone who has an iPhone thinks that they're a photographer, right? Never mind the fact.
I always say, why not take a box of bananas and go on the high street and say, "This is my fruit shop"?
Yeah, right. Because first of all, an iPhone is not a camera because mirrors, right? But do you have any particular tips for any aspiring photographers who will see that?
Light is everything. Go for the light. Fuck the background, go for the light. It is so often, I do so many photographs here in the garage, and when I open the garage and they look at it and they say, did you see, why didn't you clean it up at least? I said, I don't give a shit about the background. I look for the light in your eyes, your skin tone. I look that you're looking great. Forget about the back, and I will make sure that you're looking good. I don't care about whatever is happening. And I have these, when on Princess, they come into the studio and they see some black backdrop and they put their friend there and they take the photograph. And I said, I have a question. If you would ask your friend, honey, you have the choice. the background looks amazing. You, well, not so much.
Oh.
Or you look amazing and the background not so much. What would she pick? Why do you look for the background? Always look for the subject you want to shoot. So if you want to shoot your friend, look for a spot where your friend looks good and not where the background looks good.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's just people, I think, have got so fixated on that kind of stuff. Our friend Ashley from Alabama is asking. He says, "Does Guido have a preference for light source?"
Yes, sun.
The sun.
Wherever I can, I work with daylight.
Interesting.
So yeah, even now in here, I would take. There's the window. I would put the subject here, stand in front of the light, and shoot, and use this light. That's why I have the garage. I put the people in the garage, have the garage door open, and have the light in my back. That's one thing all the princess photographs have in common. You see me tiny in the eyes because I'm standing in front of the light source.
Right.
Ah.
Somebody else is asking, what do you use? Minimal equipment or maximal equipment? Lots of lights and lots of
It
lenses?
is. No, I use I have a camera, and I have a good portrait lens, which is the Sigma 85. The Art is one of the best lenses I've ever worked with, and then give me anything. We actually I was holding a lecture on the CeBIT, the world's largest IT fair at that time. And is photography a battle of material necessarily? And I said, give me anything which photographs. And someone reached his cell phone, 2007, before the iPhone. And I was doing shots with it. So if anyone is interested about this, just send me an email, contact@guidokarp.com, and I will send you some background on this.
And Ashley's, what time of day do you prefer the sun? Do you like the golden hour?
I don't care. I really don't care, because if the sun is too bright, I put some fabric between me and the sun. Yeah. So it is. You see, in my job, if the Jagger session is in the brutal daylight, I have to come up with a solution. Yeah. I'm well equipped. Obviously, in my league, you're prepared for every situation. Yeah. So even on the Princess Tour, I bring a portable studio which defines that I have the same light, the same background, everything is the same every day. So we build a room inside the room every day.
Right. Rich, friend Rich, is asking, what about perspective? Not sure what he means by the question, but
I'm not sure. But I used to shoot nose down. Yeah. Most people think nose up, that makes you slim here. The opposite is the case. You can put the nose down so that my focus is on the eyes. Always.
Long back of the
neck. Do the turtle. I always say, do the turtle, stretch here, hide all this behind your chin.
Yeah. Do the turtle. I like it. That's amazing. So
yeah. Did you originally, when you started, did you have a role model as a photographer?
Yes, actually, I had 5. Yeah.
Wow.
And one of them was an LA photographer who had a studio on La Cienega Boulevard, and all he had was one camera body, one portrait lens, and he was putting the person inside the studio, and he was standing on the patio and using the daylight. This was really possibly the biggest influence from selling. And then I had Jochen Bischoff, a German photographer who took care of me as a school kid and taught me so many things humanly, which most of them didn't even relate to photography. But without him, I don't think I would have got to the situation where I am.
Oh,
wow.
Great.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you wanted to ask about help. You can't do this all by yourself.
I mean, do you ever have interns?
I do, yes. Yeah, I mean, on the Princess Tour, we have a photo team of 4. I do take internships, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy and good sharing the knowledge, because people think, show me, if I have to show someone how to take a photograph, if that's what they come from, then they're wrong with me. It's like going to a Formula One driver and say, I need to make my driver's license. Would you show me how to drive a car?
Yeah.
It is.
Understood.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do have an intern at the moment, and I said the key essence is, how do you survive in the long run? It's like these people who say, "Oh, I'm shooting for some influencers and they have a gazillion followers," and so I said, "Do they pay you?" And I said, no, but they're making me famous. I'm saying, making me famous, like is being famous on Facebook is like being rich on Monopoly. Yeah, it will not. Yeah. It will not pay your bills. You must create a desirability. People must want your work. I spend a significant amount of my income every year to advance me in my career, like in workshops with, or in events with others.
I see.
And I've been to an event of a photographer, which has been league-wise way below of what I do. But I saw his photographs and I was fascinated, because all he has a kit camera with a kit lens, that we're talking like less than $500, and he has a torch and a boomstick. That's his entire equipment. Then he puts the person into the garage in the dark, and he exposes his images 2 to 3 minutes, and he paints with light. And if they need some help here or some help there, he gives them more light there. And it was so fascinating to see what the guy does, to see how different he works. I wanted to have my photograph taken. I was really mesmerized. It was so good.
Oh, good.
That's obviously a newish young photographer. Ashley's asking, what do you think of the works of David Bailey?
I must say, right now, I don't picture the work of David Bailey.
Okay, don't have it all in your head. Yeah, I know he was a very.
I mean, I'm really big. I go to all the Faye Klein openings here on La Brea, and they're always great. But I don't have a specific picture.
He was in the 1960s, 70s, mostly in black and white, if I'm right, Ashley. So took a lot of pictures of Twiggy and Carnaby Street era and whatever. So it was probably you were a baby.
Yeah, but the question always is does he excel in photography or in his phone book? You see, it's sometimes I see photographs where I say that I take this photo and change the 4 clowns, whoever are in there, and take 4 average Joes from the street. Would people still say, wow? Yeah, I will never forget, I was going to the ILMC International Live Music Conference in London, and there was a fantastic speaker speaking, and he was saying, I deliberately tell you now a very boring story. And it was like da 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 da. Then Elton John, and everyone freaked, and because out of a sudden the whole story got interesting because of the name dropping. It is really. It happens too often to me, so I don't give a shit about the names. I treat my clients like human beings. Yeah, I will never forget. I was sitting with Robbie Williams, and we were sitting in the English embassy, and on a large table, he was sitting opposite me and said, "Coffee, anyone?" I said, "I'm not so much." At that time, I didn't drink any coffee. I take a Diet Coke. And everyone was like disintegrating, because coffee anyone means, can any one of you idiots get up and bring me a coffee?
Yes.
And I dare to say I'd rather have a Diet Coke instead of bringing him a coffee. So he got up and gave me a Diet Coke and said, thanks for being one of the few normal people here.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of celebrities, they miss the normal.
Yeah, you get but the world around you miseducates you. Yeah? I think it is really difficult. I was fortunate enough, this career of Thomas Anders Modern Talking, that I saw the other side of it. And I saw how people behave and how erratic they get and how stupid situations can become. And I always tried to treat them, like on this AC/DC Black Ice shoot, they built this fantastic sushi buffet. And I said, just around the corner here from the studio, there's this döner place, and they're fantastic. I checked them out yesterday. Oh yeah, let's go. So we had this $2,000 sushi buffet. They're built by Columbia Records, and we went and I took the band for 30 quid to have
doner kebab.
Yeah, and they were so happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people tell Guido the story about when John Lennon waggled his teacup at you for more.
Yeah, Paul used to sometimes bring John Lennon to stay with us for weekends because John didn't have a home in Liverpool anymore.
Yeah.
And they were all sitting in the lounge one day having tea. And I came into the lounge with the tray, and John he was in the middle of a conversation with my husband, Jim, and he just did this with this cup and saucer. And I said, "Excuse me," in my best Maggie Smith voice, "Excuse me, we have a little word in this house, please." Because I had this little one and she was about 7 years old, 6 years old. And I was always trying to remind her of her manners. I still do.
Please and thank you.
Still do.
Yeah.
And John said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have another cup of tea, Ange?" And I said, "Yes,
please.
That's better." Yeah. And I forgot all about it. But Cynthia, his first wife, told me years later, she said, he always respected you for that because you didn't go with the bullshit of being John Lennon. You made him say please. Just a little thing, but it meant something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree with you on that one. Just people are people. Some of them are famous. Some of them are not famous. We know all sorts of people we've met in this world and this life that we've lived. And, it's not a question of the title that you have or the car that you drive or the money you've got. It's just how you treat other folks.
Absolutely.
I always like to say everybody, even if you have someone else go out shop for it, everybody needs toilet paper.
Yeah, it really is this way. The way people treat the server in the restaurant tells a lot about it.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah.
Please, and it's not just the amount of the tip, but if they don't look up and say thank you, and we know all of our local servers here in Playa del Rey. If we go somewhere new, I always introduce myself. Hey, we're going to be spending the next hour and a half or 2 hours together. Kind of. What's your name? What's your story? I'm Ruth. This is Marty. This is Angie. Thank you so much. Because they're doing a shit job for shit money. But they're human beings, and it could be the next Einstein, it could be the next Guido Karp, it could be the next.
You never know. I mean, it happened to me too.
You don't do it for that. You just do it to make people
humanity.
Feel a part of
Yes.
company. Right. Yeah.
Well, tell our kids who are watching now and will watch later on. Please tell them how it's going across the bottom, but please tell them how they can find you at your photography site and also your Princess for One Day if they're going to be in Germany in the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest, you just Google Guido Karp or you Google Princess for One Day. There's a princessforOneDay.com, obviously. There's a GuidoKarp.com. I do not spend too much time being an online person. I do have a Facebook account which is filled up. I cannot accept any friendships anymore, but it's really I try to rather enjoy life and take life as it is and go to events like the California Composers Breakfast Club. It's if they want to find me, there's my email, contact@guidokarp.com. Shoot me an email if you have questions.
You're not sorry you said that. You probably get thousands of them.
So if I may, I have no idea how many people are watching, but if I get too many and there's a slight delay, so apologies. We're in the process, as you've heard, of preparing to get over to Germany, and we'll be there for 6 months. So,
look after your princesses.
So what you don't know, what you don't know, because you're a newbie to Angie McCartney world, is that she's written a book. Well, you do know from the Composer's Breakfast, Liverpool Limericks, and our special guests who take time with us on TeaFlix get their own personal limerick. So if we may indulge another 60 seconds of your time while we read you the Guido limerick. Here it is. This is the first Irish poem written by English women about a German photographer, maybe. Aha.
Okay.
So with a 1, 2, 3. Guido's captured them all through his lens, Clapton, Stones, and celebrity friends. With King Charles in his camp, as UK postage stamp, plus his princesses pay dividends.
Ta-da!
There you go.
Awesome.
Ta-da!
Awesome. Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Well, thank you
guys.
so much for joining.
Yeah, it's
Thank
going to be
you.
a fun day. I will have another first now. I will go and I have an unpaid bill, and I will go there with the sheriff to my former CPA and collect my dues. It's a first for me. Yeah, so let's talk about this next time. Yeah, I never thought it was necessary. We settled and they didn't pay. We went back to court. We have a court order that didn't pay. Now it's time. I have to go and get a sheriff. And it's a big CPA agency here in Glendale, so it's not really even that they couldn't pay it. And it's not a significant amount. But it's going to
Doesn't matter. Well, you see, there may be a reason the universe made our limerick end in the word dividends.
Dividends.
Yeah. Okay.
The universe. Thank you, my love, so much.
Yeah.
And
thank you for having me. It was great fun. Yeah. Can't wait to do it again one day.
Yes,
absolutely.
when you come back from Germany.
Hope you all out there enjoyed it too. Thanks very much.
Thank
Again,
you.
my
Absolutely.
email,
Yes.
contact
Thank
at guidokarp.com. There's my name.
All right.
So yeah, don't misspell my name. Yeah.
No, good grief.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. All right.
Happy holidays, everyone.